I literally have not touched this mask since the first movie came out. Looks pretty creepy. It only costs like $10. So Deadpool 2 is a sequel to Deadpool 1. It came out in May. It's directed by David Leitch. He was one of the directors on John Wick. He also directed Atomic Blonde last year. And the main plot of this movie is there's a time-traveling mutant named Cable. He comes back in time to kill this kid who's going to cause him a lot of pain in the future. And Deadpool decides he has to try to protect this kid. There's more to it. There's more to Deadpool's motivations, but I don't really want to go into it because I didn't know that going into the movie. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen the movie, but for those that haven't, I'm going to try to keep this fairly spoiler-free. I really like the first Deadpool, but I don't love it as much as everyone else. Like, it's not in my top 10 comic book movies in the slightest. For the character of Deadpool, though, I think they really did it justice. So enter Deadpool 2, and I'm kind of feeling the same. I like it, not as much as everyone else. For the character of Deadpool, I think it does him justice. There are some comic book movies that do lean on the side of comedy, like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and Thor Ragnarok, but Deadpool is just a 100% straight up comedy. The movie does bring the laughs. A lot of the jokes are meta jokes. They're references to the other X-Men movies, other Ryan Reynolds stuff, or just movies in general. You saw in the trailer, he calls Josh Brolin One-Eyed Willie because Josh Brolin was in the Goonies. A good amount of the meta jokes work. There was a couple in there I just didn't really care for, and it's not because I didn't get the reference. I did. I just wasn't a big fan of them. The character of Deadpool is still great. I know Ryan Reynolds had a lot of input in the writing of the character for both this movie and the last one. He still rocks the role of Deadpool, and being a sequel, they try to go a little bit deeper with him in this movie, and I like what they were trying to do, and for the most part, it really worked for me. Talking about the newcomers in this movie, Zazie Beetz plays this character named Domino. I thought she was a big standout. She kind of almost takes the place of Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead from the first movie because those two aren't in it that much. I mean, they're there, they get a little bit of the action, but for the most part, it's like Deadpool and Domino. And then you also have Cable, and Josh Brolin was really good as Cable when he was in the movie. But it's weird is because that was marketed as like the main plot of the movie. Really, I feel like a lot of this movie you could have done without Cable. I mean, Cable was great. He did a great job. I think he has a lot of cool lines and cool moments. But at times, you get that feeling of, what was that joke? And I think it was the Big Bang Theory about Raiders of the Lost Ark, where if you took Indiana Jones out of the plot of Raiders of the Lost Ark, the plot would be no different. If you took him out of the climax, the same exact thing would unfold. Sometimes it kind of feels like that with Cable. I feel like the movie's going along with the kid and Deadpool, and then all of a sudden Cable shows up, and I'm like, all right, I forgot about him. There's a small part of me that's almost like, were they just forced into using Cable in this movie because at the end of Deadpool 1, he said, oh, by the way, we're gonna get Cable in the sequel. Josh Brolin was great. This has nothing to do with his performance. It was just, it didn't always feel like Cable had to be there. But I am glad he was in the movie because he was cool. And then the kid in this movie, I believe the actor's name is Julius Dennison. We're going to call him Ricky Baker, though. If you haven't seen Hunt for the Wilder People, he was in it with Sam Neill 2 years ago now. Wow. It was directed by Taika Waititi. He did Thor Ragnarok and What We Do in the Shadows. I'd recommend checking it out. But he was good in the movie. He does bring a lot of the laughs, and a lot of the movie obviously revolves around him because it's all about Deadpool trying to protect him from Cable. What was interesting to me, and what did work, but also I was kind of like, strange, is the fact that his character in here is very similar to his character in Hunt for the Wilder People. And his character in Hunt for the Wilder People is very similar to what you'd see in other Taika Waititi movies such as Thor Ragnarok. So it's weird. It almost feels like at times they brought Taika Waititi in to write the dialogue for him. And if you're confused with what I'm talking about, if you've seen Thor Ragnarok, think of Korg. He's kind of like Korg, where there's like a serious scene happening or it's a little dark and then all of a sudden he goes, hey man, my name's Korg. Nice to meet you. You don't need to be afraid of me unless you're made of scissors. Just a little rock, paper, scissors joke thrown in there for you. And it worked in the movie. I'm just hoping this isn't like a typecasting thing for him where all of a sudden he's now going to be like the weird, quirky dude. And I don't know. It works in the movie because it's a comedy. But I don't know. There was times when I was like, are you Ricky Baker or are you Pyro Jr. like you're supposed to be in this movie? The kid did work though. Probably my biggest issue with this movie though is something that was in the first Deadpool movie but not quite as much, is that struggle that I think all Deadpool movies going forward are going to have of drama versus comedy. In the first movie, they do try to hit some emotional beats. Sometimes it works, sometimes they just play it for a laugh. In this movie, Deadpool really goes through some intense stuff, and there's some times that really try to go deep with his character, deep with Cable, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's really cool, but other times it's just played for a laugh, which kind of annoyed me and kind of took me out of it. But it's like, Deadpool is a comedy, but at the same time, he's a superhero movie, and my favorite superhero movies are all the ones that really examine the hero, go really in depth with his character, his motivations, why he's doing what he's doing, what are the lengths he's able to go to save the people. And I know Deadpool's not all about that, but it's like when you tease that and then don't follow through with it, I don't know, it felt kind of weird. There's also a couple of references to another particular X-Men movie, and they try to pull some dramatic elements based off of that, and I'm just like, I don't know if this scene's supposed to be dramatic or if it's supposed to be funny. So there's some conflicting tone issues there. I feel like I might have sounded a little more negative on this movie than I planned to be. The movie was fun. If you like Deadpool 1, this is pretty much just more of the same. The characters are really fun. The action was good too. I didn't even really talk about that. But the action worked well. The Deadpool movies have always kind of felt slightly more lower budget than some of your bigger comic book movies. I do think I might have liked the action in this movie a little bit more than the first movie though, because you could tell they did have a bigger budget. Although still there was one character in this movie who's just a big CGI monster, and I was like, yeah, he's just a big CGI weird mess. Didn't really care for him, but the rest of the action was cool. I liked Deadpool 2. It was a fun time at the movies. If it's on sale on Black Friday, I'll probably pick it up. But again, it's really just more of the same from the first movie. So if you liked the first movie, you'll probably like this one. If you didn't like the first movie, I don't think this movie's gonna change your opinion on Deadpool. But I do want to hear what you guys think about the movie, because I know I'm not the biggest Deadpool fan, although I am a fan of it. So I'm curious, if you loved the first movie, where does this movie rank for you? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions about this movie down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys liked it, you can click subscribe and check out some of my other stuff, and I'll catch you guys next time.